All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Hour. We are jumping back into our fantasy football content, and tonight we're going to be talking about some new faces in old places. And unlike AJ, who is an old face in a similar old place where he's constantly late to the show, so we'll be right back.
The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bond and AJ Applegarth.
Touchdown! All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me to my left and right, Corey Pieper. What's going on, man?
I'm just admiring the football graphic there. I don't know if I've ever seen the football graphic version of it. I feel like when I watched it last season, I was always late getting to the beginning part there. So this is pretty cool. And you look good in your commander stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie Perogue, for the hookup here. That was our original intro video that Davis Peng did, and then we had him do the baseball one. This is by far our favorite of the two. The Tecmo Bowl theme is one of a kind.
Classic.
That classic game, man. I love it. Still like turn it on every now and then, run up the computer 100-0. It's cool. AJ, what's up, man? Saw you switch wardrobes.
I did indeed, because why not? It's just that time of day to just whatever.
Sure. All right. Well, everybody, glad you're here. We are jumping into our fantasy football content for the rest of the year. First show, we're going to be talking about some of those trades, some of those free agent signings that are shaking up fantasy values for everybody. Just kind of an off-season recap. I know lots of places have done this. We've written articles about it on the site, but going to give our 2 cents here on the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. But while you're here, though, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, ring the little bell to to remind you that we're live. And of course, jump over to FantasySixPack.net. Our all access memberships are live, where you get access to our award-winning rankings, the draft cheat sheet, which just went live a few days ago. We've got all of our DFS and betting content, baseball and hockey and basketball and golf for sure. Keith Fleming rocking it over here with the golf content. And of course, during the season, we'll have all the NFL DFS and betting content as well. New promo code F6P Pods to save 15% over there on any one of our plans. So go ahead and hit that up. So without further ado, let's jump into our we're just going to run through kind of team by team here with some of the major signings. First one up here on the list, Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold signed over there, and they also brought in Cooper Kupp and a favorite for multiple reasons, Mr. MVS over there signed with the Seattle Seahawks as well. So I think obviously, the big focus is on the change of quarterback and bringing in Cooper Kupp, because, we know DK left. And now, he comes into the mix. He's on the older side. I think we're seeing the decline happen with him. Injuries are a big concern. But AJ, you want to go first on this one? You ready? So you're muted. What's your thoughts? I want your thoughts on Sam Darnold and just kind of him moving from Minnesota to Seattle, to where he was a good fantasy option last year. A big surprise, honestly, for a lot of people. Think he can continue this with some of the weapons he's got there in Seattle?
Well, before I dive into that, I just want to say a little something for the fans out there. We are the champions. We are the champions.
Oh man.
of the NFL.
AJ,
Okay.
you are brutal.
Now that that's over with, yeah, Sam Darnold. I mean, he loses out without having Lockett, so that potentially hurts, but he gets Cooper Kupp instead, so it doesn't hurt as bad.
And JSN.
Yeah, I mean, JSN's there, obviously. We know he's going to be a stud again. I don't think it really matters who's throwing to him because he's shown that he can excel. Kupp, definitely on the downside of his illustrious career, so I'm interested to see what he still has in the tank, but I'm not trying to overdraft him just yet. MVS, he's always a boom or bust guy. So I think he can, obviously stretch the field here. I don't know if Darnold's really going to be helping him a whole lot with that. So he's kind of less, important in my mind. But he'll have those games where he gets like 15 points for fantasy and like 3 touches, 112 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, pretty much. Corey, any different thoughts on Darnold and maybe dive a little more into what we can expect from Kupp?
I mean, Sam Darnold, it's showing why you keep these first-round quarterbacks like in your super flex dynasty teams because they get so many opportunities. Sam Darnold was a completely forgotten about guy going into last year. Then the injury to J.J. McCarthy finds himself in the perfect situation with a corpse that and Kevin O'Connell, whose system just throws the ball continuously. 18th in passing attempts last year is pretty low, 3rd and 4th the first couple of years there. But that was a lot of due to efficiency over the last 10 games. They averaged over 35 pass attempts a game. Again, that's what you want to see. Mike McDonald's offense with the Steelers shockingly threw the ball the 7th most last season, which considering that when he was with Baltimore, they were 30th and 28th. I did not expect them to come out throwing, but of course, they've already let go of their offensive coordinator from last year. Ryan Grubb got 1 year and he's out. Clint Kubiak is in. Clint Kubiak loved to run the ball. He was with New Orleans last year. That team, I'm not even going to care because their team was awful. But the last time we saw him before that was with Minnesota. That was the year 2021. So before O'Connell was even there, they threw the ball 58% of the time that season. But so I think they're going to throw the ball, but I do think you'll see less volume out of Sam Darnold. Kupp's not a first-round player anymore, but he's still a value in the mid-rounds. As long as he is going to miss time, it feels like at this point. 5 games last year, high ankle sprain. That's been since that big year where he had the receiving triple crown. He missed 9 games in 2022 with a high ankle, and he had the hamstring. But DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, AJ said they're gone. Like, that's 180 targets gone. So they can't all go to JSN. So Kupp's going to have some potential there. And as far as MVS goes, like if you're in the best ball league, just take a late shot. He'll be in your lineup a couple times when he has those 3 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns games.
Well, yeah, and the Kubiak thing is interesting. I did forget that happened, but him and MVS obviously worked pretty well together last year in New Orleans. So maybe I need to rethink MVS a little bit. Probably not much, but it is.
My biggest takeaway from them getting him is Kenneth Walker's getting slept on a little bit. Not gonna lie. If Kenneth Walker can stay healthy, we're gonna see big things from Kenneth Walker. I think he's definitely below value right now in drafts. So that's
I will take the next one here. We'll keep it in the NFC West there, and we will go to the Los Angeles Rams, who lost Cooper Kupp to Seattle, but they replaced him with another aging veteran receiver, probably not as old and probably better at this point, but Davante Adams is stepping into the Rams offense. Joe, what do you think of Davante Adams with the Rams?
So, I mean, I like it. I like it and I hate it at the same time. Like, I think it's an upgraded quarterback for him for over the last couple of seasons, especially last year. But then he's got more competition now for targets than he has ever had. Puka Nacua is not going to take second fiddle to Davante Adams this year. And I just think people expecting Davante Adams to get the amount of workload that he was getting for years. Even last year, when it wasn't a great year for him, he still saw a boatload of targets. That was what was keeping his fantasy value up, honestly, was the targets. You get rid of those, and I think we're seeing a possible, at best, like back end, maybe mid wide receiver 2. I've got him ranked 18th right now in half PPR. So I just literally pulled that up. So it just kind of pulled it out, like, off the top of my head there, middle round wide receiver 2, or, middle wide receiver 2. That was my gut. And that's where my ranking is anyway. So I guess, pretty spot on.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's right. You mentioned the targets. I pulled it up while you were talking. 141 targets, still had 85 catches for 1,063 yards and 8 touchdowns last season. So we still got something in there. AJ, Where are you at with Davante going to the Los Angeles Rams?
Well, obviously, I'm now playing second fiddle to Joe's question, answering first. So I like the move. Again, they lost Cooper Kupp, and he's, like I said, he's on the downside. He's still productive, but Davante coming in with Stafford, I think that's going to be a really nice connection. Obviously Nakua should be sliding into the number 1, slot here, but I think this is kind of more of like a 1A, 1B situation. Once Adams gets up to speed, but I think him and Stafford are going to be just fine. So I'm not overly worried about it. Draft wise, yeah, I mean, I would definitely take him as a wide receiver 2. He might borderline on wide receiver 1 for me, depending on how the board falls, and what I go after in the first round or 2. But I definitely would see him as valuable as a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I think he'll carry value as a wide receiver 2 as well. We can keep talking about Cooper Kupp. Marcus Robinson's also gone from the offense, and Tyler Johnson. So there is actually 205 targets vacated by my count there. So yes, Puka, if he's healthy, eats up a considerable chunk of those. Davante will get some, and then I think there's no other receiver on this team that's at all interesting in Tutu Atwell and stuff. So then I think it probably goes to Tyler Higbee and Terrence Ferguson at tight end, and we know that Matt Stafford will funnel targets to just a few guys if he likes them. So yeah, I kind of like I could like the value at Davante Adams as a back of a wide receiver 2 if that's where it settles.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate it. But let's go ahead and jump into his former team here, the New York Jets. What a dumpster fire this team is. But maybe there's hope with Justin Fields coming in. You don't have Rodgers anymore. You don't have Saleh anymore. So, which one of those two calls the other, who knows? But just kidding. It's Aaron Rodgers. Justin Fields. Corey, what do you think about Justin Fields?
I like it. I think it's a good fit for him. And I think that Justin Fields is kind of getting slept on. Whenever Justin Fields plays for fantasy, it doesn't have to be a good actual quarterback, but he can produce fantasy numbers. So officially he plays in 10 games last season, but really he's only starting 6 games, and he really got an opportunity in those 6 games. And so if you just divide it out from last year, he averages just over 19 fantasy points per game last year, which would have been 8th on the season if he kept up that pace. Finished as a top 12 quarterback in half those starts. And then 2023, when he was still with the Bears, he was the quarterback 12 on a per game basis. 2022, he was the quarterback 6 on a per game basis. He is a top 12 quarterback typically when he plays because of the absurd rushing upside that he offers. They are bringing in a new offensive coordinator themselves. Coming with Aaron Glenn from Detroit is Tanner Engstrand. I think that he will get the most out of Justin Fields' rushing ability. I don't need him to be a very good quarterback. I just need him to be above the Anthony Richardson line, and then he can be a valuable fantasy quarterback. So if you can get him, it's I don't know where he'll settle in, but somewhere between quarterback 12 to 15, somewhere like that. I think that's a pretty good value. If you're going to wait on quarterback, take a shot on Justin Fields. He can deliver top 12 quarterback numbers.
Yeah, so I think I've got him ranked QB 10. I'm very hesitant to take him there. I don't know how much of a leash he has in New York. He probably has a very long one because there's nobody behind him, honestly. But I mean, who thought he would get replaced in Chicago? But he did. Like, he keeps getting replaced because he can't win games. Is it always his fault? No, but ask Dylan Clemens and some of our other Bears fan here at a Fantasy Six Pack. What's his big thing? He holds the ball too long. He waits too long. He waits for the open guy. You've got to get rid of the ball. Not that he takes a lot of sacks because he can run, right? But he doesn't anticipate, right? It's that like hesitation that just doesn't give him that, that high upside to where, like, if the run isn't there, he can pass. Like, quarterbacks need to be able to pass, right? And that's big my thing. Like, you can be a running quarterback, but if you can't pass, you're not staying on the field. And that's been Justin Fields' problem. Now, Justin Fields is going to be Justin Fields. When he's on the field, he is going to be a great fantasy play because he's going to run the ball like crazy, and we know that. Here's my take on the Jets, though, and this is where I think the biggest talk is going to be, I think this destroys Breece Hall, honestly, in my opinion. You're going to see, not that he was awesome last year, but I don't think we're going to see a better Breece Hall. He might be a better on a per touch basis, but I think he's going to see less touches and less touchdowns. He's going to get a lot less red zone work because Justin Fields can take a lot of that, right? And then we saw a wide receiver one season from Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson. Thank you. I'm off of him at that value. If you're drafting him at what he did last year, you're wrong. No way he's going to do what he did last year. We know Justin Fields, as I just said, we know his limitations as a passer. He is going to struggle to be able to replicate what he did last year just because the passing volume will not be there. He's going to have to put up phenomenal, yards per reception, a crazy touchdown rate, that kind of stuff in order to be able to get back to wide receiver one value. He's a back end wide receiver two for me.
Yeah, Garrett's interesting. I don't really love this fit for him, though. I mean, he's a solid stud receiver, but that was with Aaron Rodgers. So I just don't think this is the fit for him. So I would definitely not be surprised to see him fall out of easily the top 10 wide receivers, maybe even top 15. Depending on what Fields could do. I mean, he relies on his legs a lot too. So, this whole thing, like I said, it's a dumpster fire.
Can I ask Joe about? So I agree with the Garrett Wilson take that I think he drops. I don't necessarily agree with the Breece Hall take, though. Where do you have Breece Hall on your ranking there?
Still have him at 11.
See, that's pretty bad.
That's pretty high.
How many touches do you think he had last season?
Touches?
You said because you think that he's going to lose touches, carries, whatever cat stat you want, carries.
Wow. A bunch of that year was, Rodgers doesn't help him in that category. So he probably had 280-ish touches total.
266 touches, 209 carries. So he's getting 13 carries per game. Like, I think he can still get that. And then, yes, rushing quarterbacks can take away touchdown opportunities, but Saquon and Jalen Hurts. But like James Cook had 17 last season with Josh Allen running the ball. Derrick Henry gets touchdowns. I think I'm not saying I'm like banging the drum for Breece Hall here or anything after the way that he looked at times last season, but
that's what I'm hearing.
But I think he can still be a borderline RB1, kind of like you have him ranked.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you kind of think the efficiency will go up. It's just a matter of, is the volume, can he get back on the volume? And you worry with the touchdowns. But yes, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, it could easily be one of those things where the defense now needs to pay attention to Fields to where they didn't have to worry about Rodgers at all. They didn't have to worry about Darnold at all, or whoever else was in their quarterback for, with him. So I agree with you there. Rushing quarterbacks to me usually will downgrade a rusher unless you get a crazy good rushing offense like you do with Baltimore or Philly, and teams like that, where both the quarterback and the running backs in some cases can thrive. But are the Jets one of those teams? Eeks. I'm not sure. So move over here to, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers, who signed Aaron Rodgers just, a few days ago, finally signed. We knew it was coming, but he is now in the black and yellow. And then they traded for DK Metcalf, a big move for them, obviously, this offseason. They also traded away George Pickens. We'll get to that one later. But AJ, you got first bids here on this one. Rodgers, Metcalf, where you want to go?
I like the deal for Metcalf better than I like them getting Aaron Rodgers to throw to Metcalf. But, maybe he's Davante light at this point. I don't know. That's going to be his main weapon in this passing game, though. And, especially after they got rid of Pickens. You're looking at Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, Roman Wilson, like none of these guys move the needle. So, from a fantasy standpoint, DK should be getting, the lion's share of the targets. But he will also likely be getting the lion's share of defenders, stalking him on the field. So it's going to be, I could see it being kind of hit or miss with him, more hit than miss. But, Rodgers, again, what do we think he has got in the tank? I mean, at this point, I think it's only full of ayahuasca. But I mean, I don't know. He's so indecisive. He just runs on his own, own time clock. He just doesn't seem to care what anyone else thinks. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll be on the Pat McAfee show a little less now that he's in the black and gold. I don't know if Tomlin's going to stand for all that, but yeah.
Dude, have you ever seen those? You ever seen those videos where like they do like AI generated like interview or like press conferences with the coaches? Yeah. Oh my gosh, they did. I'm not going to repeat anything that was said in this because it's not good. But go look it up. The Tomlin one that they did about Aaron Rodgers, hilarious. I mean, yeah. I forget AJ. What was, and Corey, you might know too. What were the things that used to be like the bad lip reading things? Remember those?
Remember those? Yeah.
Oh my god, this destroys those. I'm sorry. These are so much better. These are so much better. Although the bad lip reading ones were so good too. Like those are classics.
They were funny, but you could just tell this is not at all what they're saying. The AI one.
Oh no, but it's like what everybody's thinking.
Yeah.
That's the best part about it.
Yeah, those are great. I think I have seen the one for Tomlin, but I definitely need to go get a new look at it again.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
While Aaron Rodgers isn't the player he once was, I still think he's a viable fantasy quarterback. He finished his QB 15 last year, which was actually his worst finish since becoming a starter in 2008. Now, he threw 584 passes, which were his most since 2018 there. So 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns. There's no way he's throwing 584 passing attempts in an Arthur Smith offense. The 6 years that Arthur Smith has been either head coach or offensive coordinator, he's finished inside the top 20 just one time in 2021 as the head coach of the Falcons. So the passing attempts are going to drop. The only way he's going to be like a top more than a streaming quarterback is he had to be extremely efficient, which he's been before. Like he's led the league in touchdown percentage 4 times in his career. He can do that, but he's also 42 going into a new offense. So I think he's more of a streamer, but I also don't like hate it. If it's an easy matchup, Aaron Rodgers is still very good, like an incredibly good quarterback. But the most exciting player is DK Metcalf. While technically he plays in 15 games last season, he was clearly hampered by it's a shoulder and a knee, I think, at different times, but still almost got to 1,000 yards, 992 there. And what's most appealing is AJ mentioned it. Like, we know that Rodgers will funnel targets to a guy he loves. Davante Adams, I didn't go all the way back, but Garrett Wilson had 154 last year. Al Nazard in 2022, that was the year that he didn't have any targets he liked, hence the reason he got his ass out of Green Bay. Right. So Al Nazard got 100, but before that, Davante 169, 149, 127, 169. There's no one else. He mentioned it. Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods. They're not taking targets away from DK Metcalf.
Man, how many targets would have Garrett Wilson gotten if Davante Adams hadn't shown up? Just think about
180.
that. 180. Like 220, man. Like unreal numbers. Like, and I'm kidding with the 220, but like unreal. Like he would have been. I bet you it would have been a lot closer to 200 than 180. But Adams has some crazy games where he had like 15 or 16 targets, man. Just nuts.
And there's who else is he doing that with on the Steelers? I know there's talk that they still want to try and bring in someone else. Like, if they bring in like a Keenan Allen or something late in this process, that changes the equation right now. But with where we stand right now, over under 160 targets for DK Metcalf.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it. There's nobody else there. You're right. And you just have to hope he likes DK more than anybody else. You know, you never know. Sure. Like that's kind of his thing. Aaron Rodgers can be weird. So no, never. Do want to get to a question that Mace asked here. Do you guys think Matthew Stafford has a shot to replicating his 2021 season as a top 10 quarterback? I do. I think he's always got a chance. I think with Stafford, it's a little bit of health. He's got to cut down on the interceptions. Big time. That's been a big problem for him lately. That season, I want to say he led
the league in picks that year.
He led the league in picks that season in 2021.
17. Okay. What changed that year was he threw the ball 601 times. He hasn't gotten anywhere close to that, and that's because that was the year Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator in Los Angeles, and now it's Matt LaFleur. I don't see him having that type of offense anymore.
It's they like to run the ball, but he'll get his.
I love Matt Stafford, but I just don't think I don't know how he throws the ball that much.
Top 10's hard. I can't project him at top 10. I'm trying to think where I have him right now.
I responded in the chat.
I'm way out. Yeah. Apparently. He'll have weeks though, man. He's definitely one of those like DFS and streamer guys. Like you're gonna have games where you're gonna absolutely want to play Stafford. And both receivers probably, if you can. We'll see how it goes though. All right. Let's move on to the next team though.
The next team here is the Giants, which they are bringing in not one, not two, but technically 3 new quarterbacks on the team here. So we're not really talking about the rookies, but in this case, we're going to have to at least mention him. So the Giants brought in from the Steelers. I guess it's kind of like a theme here, but they're kind of just one going to another. From the Steelers, they bring in Russell Wilson, who started the last 10 games for the Steelers. They also brought in Jameis Winston, future amazing broadcaster of the NFL, and they drafted Jackson Dart after trading up to draft Jackson Dart. So they have 3 quarterbacks here. I guess we're at least gonna have to mention Jackson Dart, but what do we think of the Giants quarterback situation here? I believe Joe, you are up first.
Not good, Bob. It's not good. I mean, come on, let's be real. Russell Wilson's gonna have a few games. Everybody's going to get excited. They might bring in Winston, to relieve, and then he's going to do Winston things. He'll have one game where he throws 6 touchdowns, another game where he'll throw 6 interceptions. Then they're going to bring in Jackson Dart. It will eventually be Jackson Dart time because I'm sorry, Giants fans. The Giants are still going to be terrible. Sorry. It's just going to be that way. If they're not, come yell at me in the offseason. I will eat crow. I will whatever. I just don't see how it doesn't. Now, I want to believe they really bolstered the defense this offseason. So that's the only saving grace, right? Is that they actually really might have saved themselves by helping this defense out tremendously, which they definitely needed to. So the quarterbacks and, don't need to do as much. They got neighbors. They brought in Scatterbo. Tracy was awesome last year. So the offense isn't terrible around the quarterbacks either. I think they drafted a couple offensive linemen. It's just a matter of, can they get production for these quarterbacks? And I really just don't think they can. So I'm not touching any of these guys. It's really hard to even rely on these guys in Superflex leagues. Wilson's like QB 28 or 29 for me right now. Winston's off the board, or way past that. Dart is, even farther, I believe. Actually, I probably have Dart ahead of Winston if I had to think about it. Yeah, he is. So I just don't want anything to do with these guys. They're just not reliable. Dart is a dynasty option at best, and he's not even going to be. He's a not pun not intended, but he is literally a dart throw in dynasty. Like, what? This happened to be your name. Wasn't. I was going to say it regardless of your name, but that is the case.
Yeah.
AJ, got any good things on the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants aren't even like the redheaded stepchild of the NFC East. They're like the albino, bald-headed stepchild born from the redheaded stepchild. So I don't know if that's 2 steps. Whatever. They stink. They are going to continue to stink. Joe, as you mentioned, they do have some nice pieces on offense with Neighbors and Scatterbo. I am interested to see, how his game translates to the NFL. I liked him a lot in college, so that'll be interesting. But because this team sucks so bad, they're not going to be running the ball much because they're going to be so far behind. And the only way that they won't be completely out of it is if Winston's out there throwing 600 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. He's not going to do that every game. So, you got to just pick your battles here. And I'm picking none of these for my battle.
Or the only way they're in the game is because their front 7 is nasty now, man.
Yeah.
Best one in the league.
So it might they got Abdul Carter.
It's the best defensive line in the league. Like,
yeah,
Ryan Burns,
unreal.
Abdul Carter,
unreal, just unreal how much better this defensive line is now. It was already pretty good, but now you add Carter to it. Yeah, that's going to be one way to save the game is just keep other teams off the board. But
all I want is at least one game from Jameis Winston throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors 35 times. Because if he gets in, he's just.
It might happen, man. It might happen.
I love that potential matchup. It's just.
I think that would be perfect mix.
Beyond explosive, but it's going to be like 2 games. So, all right. Well, moving on here to more quarterback woes. We're looking at the Browns, and we've got Mr. Elite Joe Flacco coming back to Cleveland, trying to relive some success from a few years back. Rode that playoff run to a championship, so maybe he can do that again.
He's then you have cult hero in Cleveland.
Exactly,
hilarious.
Then you've got Kenny Smallhands Pickett, who came over via trade. The best thing about Pickett is that he's got experience playing in the league. Obviously, not as much as Flacco, but he also took the final snap in the Super Bowl win for the Eagles. So he has that experience to dwell on as well. But Corey, what do you think of these 2 elder statesmen?
I think it's a similar situation to the Giants where I don't really want a lot of them. But so you're going to give – I expect for the Giants, Russell Wilson starts week 1. I expect for the Browns, Joe Flacco starts week 1. But he's got Kenny Pickett, who has experience and probably should get another shot. This is the classic, same thing as I said with Sam Darnold. These first-round quarterbacks get tons of shots, and Kenny Pickett probably deserves at least one more try somewheres. And then on top of that, it's not Jackson Dart with a first-round pick, but it's Dylan Gabriel with a 3rd round pick, and it's Shedeur Sanders with a 5th or 6th round pick, who we all thought could have went in the first 30 picks, and nobody would have really been surprised. So, and then of course Deshaun Watson somewhere there chilling, doing whatever he does, collecting those paychecks for the rest of his life. So there are so many quarterbacks here, but I think if Joe Flacco gets the opportunity, I think you could stream it at least early in the season. He threw multiple touchdowns in 4 or 5 games last season since the start of 2022. So you have to go back a while, but in that time he started 15 games. He averaged 295 passing yards and 2 touchdowns per game in those starts. So he has just become this guy who just goes out and slings the ball around, kind of like Jameis when he's out there. He's just taking like no prisoners. He's 42 now, whatever. He doesn't care, just going out and chucking the ball around. So I think if Joe Flacco starts and you get some easy matchups, you can stream Joe Flacco. I don't know if I like in one single quarterback league, but in a 2 quarterback league, go for it. And otherwise, single quarterback league, I don't really want to take any of these quarterbacks at all because I don't really know how it all shakes out with starts going on there.
Joe?
Sorry, I'm not touching any of these Browns quarterbacks. Yeah, maybe DFS type plays. Joe Flacco would probably be the only one that if he were playing, I don't know, the
Carolina.
Yeah, like from last year, yeah, like Carolina. And you knew he was the starter, sure, throw him out there. One name we didn't bring up was Deontay Johnson. He did sign with them as well. Not super duper excited about it, but hey, it does add a little bit of depth. He's not terrible. He's just a head case. But look, they had Jerry Jeudy and then I don't know who. Like that's the point, right? We don't know who really. Like it was bad.
I liked Cedric Tillman until he got concussed. I thought Cedric Tillman was playing well until he got concussed, but then the concussion hit, and Eli Moore was there last year, so like it can sustain a second receiver, but Deontay Johnson can't catch, and he's insane. How many teams had him last year? Like,
no, I know. But
Carolina, Houston.
Look, I'm not saying rely on Deontay Johnson. I'm just saying like it's a name we need to bring out. People know who he is. And he's not like I'm not drafting him. I'm not a 96th receiver off my board and have PPR. Like I'm not drafting him. I'm not doing anything with him. But like just know that he's there. And I think that actually as crazy as we think it is, whatever you want to call it, like it does help to have extra people who know how to play football on the field, right? That's all I got for the Browns. Browns are bad. So,
yeah.
Let's go to a more.
Sanders just needs to literally slow down. It's been cited twice this month. We are, 19 days into the month, and he's got 2 tickets for speeding already. I mean, you're not going to be moving up that depth chart any faster. So just ease it down.
Just got arrested for going 101 or pulled over. I don't know if he got arrested. That's a wrong.
Saw that. Yeah. How fast was Shedeur going?
101, I saw.
No, Shedeur, I thought it was like 120.
Sanders was stopped for driving 91 in a 65.
Oh.
That's not terrible.
Tell us how you drive.
I can't say I have.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's move over here to the Chargers. And not a ton of movement here, but brought in some interesting names. Lost J.K. Dobbins, let him walk. Brought in Najee Harris from Pittsburgh, and then brought back Mike Williams. Big Mike. AJ.
A lot to unwrap here. I think the trade-off of Dobbins and his health for Najee and his potential health is kind of a wash. I do like Najee. I'm interested to see what he can do in this offense with Harbaugh. I don't know if I'm necessarily targeting him early and often, early for him. I mean, so
what's early for him?
Early would be like round 6, 7.
Oh, I got him way higher than that. I like Najee this year.
All right.
That's a run first offense.
I know.
Huge run first offense.
Early for me.
All right.
Mike Williams.
Give me all that.
Boomer bust guy again, and mostly just busted body parts. So if he can stay healthy, then I like him. But TBD.
So I think Najee's kind of undervalued here. Since he came in the league, right, he's played in every game, 68 games, not always fully healthy, but 4 straight seasons, every year he's been in the league, over 1,000 yards, none over 1,200 yards. Since he got in the league, only Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs have more yards than him, and finishes the RB20 the last couple of years. Like Joe said, passing offense, I would have been like very in if they didn't draft Amari Hampton in the 22nd pick overall, something like that. Early 20s of the NFL draft, they took Amari Hampton, right? I want to see if we can get some passing volume game back out of Najee Harris here, because the first year he showed he can catch. I think he had like 70 catches in his rookie season, and then Jaylen Warren just took that role completely.
Almost 100.
Over 100 catches?
Really? I think he had almost 100.
Oh, I don't remember that many, but like he showed he could do it. And then Jaylen Warren stepped in, and we've never really seen him get an opportunity again with the Steelers.
Oh, sorry, he had 94 targets. That's what it was. Sorry.
How close was
I? Knew there was almost. I said almost 100. It was 74.
How close was I with my 70 catches? Was I close?
74.
Boom!
I was thinking target. My bad.
But like he's shown he can do it. They just never asked him to do it again after that. That
was Mr. Check Down Big Ben at that point.
That's right.
Remember?
Check down Big Ben. But like if we can get that back again, I think, like you said, I think this team wants to run the ball. I think they'd ideally run the ball 30 plus times a game. So if you give, 18 of that to Amari Hampton and a dozen of that to Najee Harris, or even a closer split, something like that, you can find a way to say, okay, he's going to get 200 touches somehow in this offense, and maybe he makes another run at 1,000 yards. Mike Williams, this team desperately needs a player to stretch the field deep. Like Ladd McConkey's amazing into the first 15 to 20 yards. He's not fast enough. Trey Harris is the same type of thing. That is exactly what Mike Williams does, is run down the field quickly. Sometimes he catches the ball. Sometimes he doesn't catch the ball. 15.2 yard ADOT last year. I guess he's just like a better version of Quentin Johnston. It's very boomer busty though with him. So I don't think I have a whole lot of hope in Mike Williams, because he is at best the third target in a team that wants to run the ball. So probably nothing that I'm interested in.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. So
where do you have Najee? You said you had him quite high. Where do you have Najee?
I have him at 35 overall. 35th running back.
I'm running back.
Oh, that's 35th running back. Yeah. So overall, my bad.
I was
like,
what?
Wow.
Yeah, my bad.
More bullshit.
Yeah, sixth round. Yeah. That's about. Oh, actually, no, I'm way outside of that. Yeah, I'm 113th overall with him. I had running back rankings up. I was like, oh man, that seems early.
Making me look dumb when I'm actually a genius. So.
I'm actually like the low man on him in the F6P rankings right now. Everybody else got him in the 80s and 70s. I'm having 113 overall.
Yeah, I still think. I mean, he's hovering around 8th round ADP right now, but obviously that will change as we get into draft season here.
Yeah, it's super early yet for any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to another one with some running back questions here. Actually, big running back questions. The Dallas Cowboys, so your guys' favorite team, I'm so assuming. Javonte Williams from Denver signed as a free agent to help fill the running back need, maybe-ish. Miles Sanders came from Carolina to help fill the running back need, and they drafted Jaden Blue from Texas in like the 5th or 6th round. So last year was Rico Dowdle. He's out. We'll get to him in a little bit. I guess, and before we even talk about George Pickens, let's just hear about the running backs, because that's been the question in Dallas for a while here. So where do you see the running back settling in, AJ? Who do you like the most? Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, the rookie Jaden Blue? Who's going to get the carries here?
I think it's going to be, to start the season, it'll be Williams, Blue, Sanders. As much as I love Sanders for what he did here in Philly, he really wasn't that phenomenal. I mean, he was serviceable. his last season here was obviously his best because it was a contract year. Williams, I do like Williams. I think he's a good fit in this offense because Dak's going to be still throwing the ball down to Lamb and obviously Pickens now too. But I think that'll open things up for the run game, and I think they can really take advantage of Williams' skill set. I liked Blue in college too, so I'm interested to see, like Scatabo, how his game translates. I would be higher on Scatabo than Blue in a vacuum, but with Blue being on the better team, it's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like I want to like Javonte Williams more than I do because when I watched him last season, it looked like he was running a like quicksand. He looked so much slower coming off the ACL, but still got the ball 11 times a game. We'll see. Joe, who do you like in Dallas?
I mean, really none of them, but if I have to pick one, it's going to be Javonte Williams. I'm just probably not drafting him where he's going. Even though it's not high, like it's not like a super high draft cost, but just there's probably going to be other guys that I want to draft who I think have higher upside at that point in the draft. Like, you're getting to that double digit rounds. Like, I don't know if there's upside with Javonte Williams. I guess there kind of could be. Like, if you think he can return to post ACLs injuries, that's the problem, right? It's like, if you think he can return from the injury, return to pre-injury form, or even 85 to 90% of it, absolutely, he's a steal. Miles Sanders isn't taking his job. Blue's not taking his job.
No.
Javonte Williams is the guy. And we know Dallas does typically like to lean on one guy if they can. I'm just not sure Williams is that guy.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that. If somebody takes the spot, I think it is a steal, but I don't know who that is. Yeah. George Pickens, though, at receiver. AJ sort of mentioned it already. And anybody want to talk about George Pickens?
I mean, when that trade went down, I was kind of like, whew, that one actually really shocked me. I know Pickens has been a problem in Pittsburgh, and they typically like to get rid of their problem childs, as we know. Although
bring in Aaron Rodgers,
and then and then they bring in Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know. Maybe he fed them a little bit ashwagandha. Anyway, George Pickens. Whatever. Can't even pronounce it. That's how.
I don't even know what you just said.
I think he said ashwagandha. That's like a supplement.
Yeah,
ashwagandha. I said ashwagandha. I don't even know. Anyway, that's how much I know about it. So George Pickens landing there. I think people are going to go, okay, George Pickens upgrade, possibly. Sure, I get it, and that's fine. I think the big question here is what does it do to CeeDee Lamb? And I think it's going – I don't really think it's going to do anything to CeeDee Lamb. I do think the one thing it will do to him is kind of – it will hurt his consistency slightly just because you won't be guaranteed the volume that you were getting before. Pickens is by far the second best receiver he has played with for the last few seasons.
Oh, easy.
So I do think there will be games where you're like, what happened to CeeDee Lamb? Kind of like last year. And I know he's coming off the injury in the preseason, so that didn't help. That was a big part of it. But I think we're going to get like a mixed bag sometimes during the season. But when you look at the final stat line at the end of the year, you're going to go, oh, yeah, it's CeeDee Lamb. He was still awesome.
Yeah.
Especially with a lack of a running game.
Yeah, I'm not worried about CD much with this move. If anything, I feel like defenses will have to try to key in on Pickens too, to possibly free up Lamb a little bit more, or get him on more one-on-ones. But he's easily the best receiver that CD's had on the other side of him. I mean, you're talking Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, or George Pickens. Cooks has had a career, but it's just not the same. And I don't love Pickens in general. I do think he was a major distraction in Pittsburgh, so having him out of there is perfect for them.
I think we'll see the best version. I'm going to probably pound the table for George Pickens, which doesn't sound like it. I do think we'll see the best version of George Pickens in Dallas. He put out extraordinarily little effort because he hated blocking, and Pittsburgh threw the ball 499 times last year, 506 the year before that. Dallas threw the ball 637 times last year. Let me remind you, that got hurt. That was with Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, and they still threw the ball 637 times. They threw it 614 the year before that. So you're talking another 100 pass attempts that George Pickens might get thrown to him. He's going to have, I think it'll be the best version we've seen of George Pickens, but that's still probably a back end wide receiver 2 or early wide receiver 3, because I think it's going to be kind of up and down. I think it'll be there'll be some big blow up games, but there'll be games where, like Joe said, George Pickens is pretty good. He's not CeeDee Lamb. So I'm okay with CeeDee Lamb, but it's going to be erratic.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, well, you hinted at it. Now let's just jump right into it with Rico Dowdle.
Nope.
He has...
Can we pause for 1 second? We got a question, actually.
Oh.
Dynasty is my life. 12-team Superflex, start 9. He is a contender. Would you send Puka for JSN, CMC, and Godwin?
Yes. If I'm contending,
I think I would. You're still gonna get a couple of years out of CMC and Godwin, and you're gonna get a lot of good years out of JSN. I love Puka, but to get that in return, absolutely.
Yeah, that's an easy smash.
Especially for contender. If you weren't a contender, I'd say maybe not. But
the only question I would have on this is who would you have to cut? Because you're bringing on 3 and giving up 1.
It's a question.
Unless you just randomly have open roster spots or you have obvious people to cut, then that would work. But that would factor it in for me. But I still think, looking at it on paper, it's a smash. So
that's a very good question.
All right.
Get AJ being smart again.
I told you earlier, I'm a freaking genius. Drive fast, take chances, and I know things.
Let's go.
Right. Rico Dowdle is down in the Cackalack with the Panthers now. What's this do to Brooks? Is he like a new shiny toy for this offense?
He's not playing this year. Let's be real.
Brooks, yeah.
He's not playing this year.
No, but I don't know how much Rico's playing this year either. That's the problem. And I loved Rico last year. I coming off of a 1,328 yard total season here, over 1,000 rushing yards with Dallas. We talk about that's the reason we want to know who the running back is in Dallas, because I don't know how talented Rico Dowdle is. I think he's fine. But if you're gonna get the ball, you can be 1,000 yards in Dallas. I think Javonte Williams should be better if he's healthy. So that's why we talked so long about the Dallas offense. He did get a nice fully guaranteed contract only for $2.75 million. So he's got a spot on this team.
Yeah.
But I think he's the clear backup to Chuba Hubbard. So I think this is more of a handcuff in the middle rounds of your draft if you've got Chuba Hubbard than someone that I'm really trying to target and get here, because I still don't know how much I trust the Panthers offense. It was better at the end of the year. Bryce Young started to look pretty good. But if I'm getting the backup running back to Chuba Hubbard, I'm not going out of my way to make sure I get that on my fantasy team.
Joe?
I pretty much agree. Dowdell's a more favorable dart throw in the middle rounds there. I think Hubbard, I don't know. I would hope that he has cemented himself as the RB1 on this team, but the Panthers it seems like the Panthers keep trying to find ways to replace him. Like they drafted Brooks, right? And it was like, what the hell? And then they gave Chuba the contract, which was even more mind-boggling. So it was like, what's going on here? And then as soon as Brooks came back, they played him, not a lot, but it was more than I thought they would. And of course, he got hurt again. And now they bring in Rico Dowdle, who they know can play well. And it's just like something about Chuba Hubbard, like this coaching staff and his front office just doesn't seem to want to buy in totally on him. But he has done nothing but play well for them. So I don't get it. But Dowdle, we know, is talented. I do think Dowdle is better as a running back 2 on his own team. He struggled when he got a lot more carries on a efficiency basis. His best seasons were behind Zeke. So I think that's that's his best role. Unfortunately, that's not his best role for fantasy because we want more yardage, more touches, more stuff like that. But for a NFL team, his best role is going to be backup running back, and that's where he's at right now.
Yeah, I can see that, and that was kind of my point in mentioning Brooks. Like, where is he fitting when he comes back? As far as
I don't think he's playing this year.
No, not this year. But like future, if they're gonna hang on to Dowdle, they also have Trevor Etienne, who they drafted. So it'll be fun to see if he even gets to see the field much. But that'll depend on Hubbard's success. If he continues to just be pretty freaking good, then I don't really see a lot of.
Well, I will say Dowdle has a 1-year contract, so
okay,
that does not take away from Brooks. It's not, so they definitely did that right. And Etienne's a rookie.
The only Dynasty team I had Jonathan Brooks on, I traded him. Because, I don't know. Do we really have any faith in a guy who's now coming off of 2? This is his second ACL tear, too. Remember, this is not just the first time this happened. He tore it at the very end of his college career. So I traded him for, I don't remember, like middle of the 3rd round, I think I got out of him, which I turned into like DJ Giddens or something like that. So I just have.
I don't hate that.
Yeah, he might work out, but I don't have very much confidence in the running backs with multiple knee injuries already in his career who has yet to take a carrier.
You got to be Peterson to come back from those, man.
So
you got to be that kind of freak. So let's move over here to the Denver Broncos, who had a pretty good season for what we expected over there. Then they brought in so we know they let go of
Javonte.
Brought in J.K. Dobbins this off season, who was with the Chargers and had a phenomenal bounce back season. Until he got hurt at the very end of the year. Kind of hoping he would finally make it through it. So that's going to be a thing for him still. Traded for Evan Engram just to help out Bo Nix even more, which was a huge need for them. Like tight end was not a great spot for them. Like they had some decent guys, but nobody they could rely on. Engram was awesome in Jacksonville. The Broncos receiving core outside of Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims showed near the end. You had Vele here and there. They drafted what's his name?
Pat Bryant.
Who
also known as Michael Thomas. Sorry.
Who still I still like Pat Bryant. Michael Thomas maybe not, but Pat Bryant is I still think a talented guy. But again, bringing in a guy like Evan Engram who Bo Nix can rely on a little more is I think a phenomenal move. But who's here first? AJ. Dobbins. Let me get your thoughts on Dobbins.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Dobbins, assuming he's fully healthy to go at the beginning of the season here, he easily slides into the RB1 slot for me. I mean, they're looking at Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime. Neither of those guys have really done a whole lot. McLaughlin's shown some flashes here and there, but to me, he's more of a better in a receiving role, especially with Bo Nix there now, or still there, whatever. I like Dobbins, and I loved seeing what he did last year, finally getting the injury monkey off of his back until the end of the season. But he was very productive, and I think that can translate well to Denver. Engram, obviously an upgrade for their tight end room. So I think this is, like you said, just another solid weapon for Knicks to command that offense with.
So J.K. Dobbins, I think you look at J.K. Dobbins 2024, and it's the reason that Joe talked about his like for Najee Harris. I like Najee Harris. That's why, because he gets all those carries with the Chargers. And yes, it was his healthiest season, but 15 touches per game. I did not think J.K. Dobbins had that in him. 905 rushing yards, 9 TDs. Also caught 32 passes, career best there. It was the healthiest season of his career. That was obviously important. Like you said, the MCL strain there. I think it just, so the running back that was the most interesting was RJ Harvey. They drafted him in the second round out of UCF. If you've ever seen RJ Harvey, he's kind of smaller, but he was incredibly productive at Central Florida and a team that runs the ball. Their coach is a guy named Gus Malzahn, who just basically runs the ball continuously. It was him and KJ Jefferson. RJ Harvey can take the workload, and when Sean Payton drafted him that early, it was intriguing because we know Sean Payton's history with running backs includes Alvin Kamara. It's the big one who, when they gets the ball, can do a lot with it. Deuce McAllister, like he's had success with running backs. Not Deuce McAllister, I can't think of the running back before that, but good success with running backs in there. But I think this just lowers the excitement for RJ Harvey and all but eliminates Estime as any type of an option with J.K. Dobbins. I think those two will split carries. Evan Engram is really cool. Like, dealt with injuries again last season, hamstring. I think it was a shoulder. Only played 9 games. Still 13th on a per game basis. Got little over 7 targets per game last year. But remember, the year before, 143 targets. 143 targets. That's over 10 targets a game. And Joe mentioned, who did Denver bring in? Other than Cortland Sutton, is there anybody on this team? And I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Evan Engram gets more targets than Cortland Sutton even. He could lead this team in targets. That is not impossible. So, yeah, he's not going to break into the George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride tier. But after that, like, is that Evan Engram that much worse than Sam Laporta or TJ Hawkinson? I don't know. I might take him in that. I'd put him in that range for sure. Top 6, or unless I'm forgetting someone obvious. I haven't actually done any rankings yet, but he's got as much ceiling as any of those group.
Yeah. So Mark Engram is the Engram you were thinking of.
Thank you.
Yeah, him and Camaro were awesome. Like, dual.
They were like the first 1-2 punch, man.
Yeah, and then they had what's his face? I think he's still there. Williams. Williams had a good year, but then he was terrible. Oh no, that was Detroit. I'm thinking of his good year. So he went down there and just was injured forever. So, all right, what's up next?
Next is the Houston Texans, who waited. Actually, they made one move pretty early in the process. That was a trade for Christian Kirk. Remember Christian Kirk with the Jacksonville guy? I think he broke his collarbone in the midway of the point last season, only played in about half the season. And then one of the more recent signings on this list is they signed, at one time, one of the best running backs in the league, Nick Chubb. But Nick Chubb, not the same player he was, unfortunately, due to some severe injuries here. But maybe we are thinking that he can take some work away from Joe Mixon. So I believe, Joe, you are up first. Any thoughts on either Nick Chubb or Christian Kirk?
So, quick thoughts about Chubb. Honestly, I want nothing to do with him. Joe Mixon's still going to lead this backfield. Chubb's going to get involved, but I think what it does is it just muddles whoever's the RB2 at this point. Unless Chubb is, comes back and is all of a sudden just like kind of superhuman and is like really surprises us, I'm not buying in on him. Christian Kirk actually does interest me a little bit here. The Texans are struggling at receiver past. Sorry, I'm trying to. My computer's not working here. Outside of Nico Collins, the Houston receiving core is not great. Tank Dell is, just kind of left for dead at this point. Like you cannot rely on Tank Dell. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, John Mejia, like what? Like, and so it's bad. So, and look, we've seen good stuff from Christian Kirk before. We know Collins is going to be wide receiver 1, the alpha there big time. Christian Kirk can thrive as a secondary receiver. Seen it before. I do think we're going to get a bit of a bounce back here from in this passing game from some CJ Stroud. So Christian Kirk, I think, can be somebody who you can lean on a little bit. And he will be a target of mine as like a dart throw, like wide receiver 4, who I think could who has the upside to turn into like a wide receiver, like a back end wide receiver 2, like at worst wide receiver 3. So Christian Kirk is somebody who I think can be very good in this offense.
Interesting take. AJ?
Yeah. Well, first off, I think we need a new banner for the bottom for the dart throw count to see how many times we can say dart throw. I think we're up to like 17 already, not including Jackson Dart's name.
18.
I'm a little more optimistic with Chubb. I mean, the injuries and injury history always scares me, especially with a running back, of his age. I don't know if it really gets much better health-wise from here on out. It is interesting to me that it's two running backs that used to face off against each other in the AFC North are now teammates. So I still think Mixon is definitely the leader in this clubhouse, though. You got behind him and Chubb, you're looking at rookie Woody Marks. You got Damian Pierce, who's more special teams than anything. Ogunbowale. These are all peripheral guys. So I think this could be, as long as Chubb stays healthy, I feel like this could be an interesting 1-2 punch, especially if CJ Stroud does not have a bounce back, as Joe was alluding to. I also agree that he will. I mean, there's not really too much he has to do to have a quote unquote bounce back from what he did last year. Sophomore slump hit hard on CJ. And the injuries to the receivers didn't help either. So that said, I think Kirk can be helpful, but I'm not super high on him. Probably just because I've been burned by his injuries. So I hold that grudge hard and long. So Kirk, I like the 2 rookies there. They were teammates in college too. I liked those picks when they came in. So I'm good with them, but they need to learn the offense, just like Kirk does. So it's going to matter, depend on who picks it up first and faster.
I have absolutely no interest in Nick Chubb at all. Joe said, was he superhuman? This was the time last year when he was doing squats and everyone's like, he's superhuman. I'm like, yeah, you do really squat anybody on the football field? Like, he has to be able to run and cut. So I have absolutely no interest in Nick Chubb. I think he's I love the guy, but completely pretty much done with his career here.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Kirk, not a lot of interest there. I just think it just means how many targets can Nico Collins get in this offense? Because that's what when I see Christian Kirk and all these rookies, I just think I think he's probably going in the back end of the first round. Can he get to 10 a game? I think we had 4 guys get there last year. I think he might.
Yeah, I think it's there.
He was getting there. He was getting 8 a game with Stefon Diggs, who we'll talk about in a second here, and Tank Dell at least for a while. I think Nico Collins could get to 10 a game. And if you get to 10 targets a game, you're like Malik, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, and Davante. Like those 3 of those guys are going in the top 5 picks. So that's what I think is maybe we're just a little. Maybe Nico Collins should be ahead of Brian Thomas and some of those guys who are maybe going slightly ahead of him right now.
Can he beat double and triple coverage? Because that's going to happen, man. There's nobody else there.
I think he can.
Nobody. Really not. So, AJ.
All right. Speaking of Stefon Diggs, sorry. He is our next man up here. Disgruntled basically everywhere he's been. So this is now his 4th team, between Vikings to Buffalo to Houston and now to the Patriots. I think it's a good, outlook for Drake May, but what do you guys think? Corey, start with you.
So first off, he got a much bigger contract than I thought. $63.5 million with 22 of that guaranteed. So they still think he's got it in him. Now he's also coming off. He tore his ACL at the middle of the season, so I do not expect Stefon Diggs to be ready to go right away. I would expect that he probably starts on Kupp and maybe misses the first 6 games. But when he is ready to go, there's not a lot of like any other targets on the New England Patriots wide receivers that are in the quality of Stefon Diggs. Demario Douglas had the team last year with 87 targets. I love Pop Douglas. He's also like 5'8" tall and does like the underneath routes. So Butte had 68 targets. Kendrick Bourne had 38. That was it. That's it for the receiver targets. Stefon Diggs had 64 in 8 games on a team with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. So he was almost on that same pace in half the season. And before that, he had at least 154 targets the years before that with 6 straight 1,000-yard receivings. You have to imagine that once he's healthy, he leads the Patriots in targets, but that might be a 6-week wait. So if we get updates that would make it look like he's playing earlier, then fine, bump him up into like wide receiver, probably like 3 range. But if he's going to miss 6 weeks, that's more of a like last round if I have an injured reserve type of pick. So that's one that you just have to wait to. If you're drafting now, then you're insane. But otherwise, just wait, and we'll know more about where you want to take him then.
Yeah, I've got Diggs ranked fairly high for receivers, like 48th. I kind of think he misses like 4 games. They're already saying he's like way ahead of schedule. I guess the other problem might be his suspension at this point. Like we're talking about pink substance or whatever the hell we're talking about, like off the boat. Who knows what this is? But knowing the NFL, this won't come to nothing for 3 years. But anyway, Diggs not a big target of mine. 48th wide receiver is probably like 12th, 13th, 14th round. So not that worried about it. Jump over to here to the Bills. Not super exciting here, but just more noise, I guess, for this slot receiver room. Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore now over there to join the ranks. Corey or AJ, I guess, actually, real quick thoughts.
I mean, not much here. It's nice to have a little extra depth when there just really wasn't any, solid, serviceable depth there. And Khalil Shakir got basically all the targets. Coleman kind of started picking up a little towards the end of the year. I've always liked Josh Palmer. I think he'll
By the way, they brought in
LaVishka
Chenault too, if anybody cares.
Wow. That is
4 went out for my dynasty teams that drafted LaVishka.
Just another one, right?
That has not made the
no
fantasy 6-pack wide receiver depth chart. I do believe I
just saw that name. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay.
I do have him with Buffalo already, but he is now in the back end. So Elijah Moore, I think Palmer and Moore could ultimately take over as wide receiver 2 and 3. We just need to see more out of Coleman for him to kind of maintain being ahead of one of those two. Corey?
Right. Anything?
Draft Dalton Kincaid. He's the only one that I really trust to like. If you're talking about the targets on the Bills, how do you break it up? Like Khalil Shakir will get some, Dalton Kincaid will get some, James Cook will get some. They have we were talking about your dynasty team. You texted me. I said they have like 5 slot options on this team. I don't know how it's going to work out. So I just kind of avoiding a lot of these receivers other than Dalton Kincaid because the Bills are really hard to figure out right now.
I'll take a flyer on Shakir, and that's about it.
Yeah,
I don't even want Kincaid or Knox because they weren't good last year.
Yeah, it's true. On to the AFC North team, the Baltimore Ravens. DeAndre Hopkins, future Hall of Fame wide receiver, I think, probably. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday, signed with the Ravens, and more recently, the only defensive guy we're talking about the past couple days, former Green Bay Packer cornerback, Jair Alexander, played all of like 6 games in the last 3 years because he's constantly injured. But when he is there, man, is it fun to watch. But for the 4.5 minutes he plays every game, like it's cool to see.
4. That's awesome.
So, anybody? I believe we're on Joe. What do you got? Anything on DeAndre Hopkins or Jair Alexander here?
No, I mean, like Hopkins is a TD league guy only. Like if you're playing a touchdown only league, fine, take some Hopkins and hopefully catches 6 or 7. Like that's what he's gonna be, right? I don't really think Hopkins is gonna be much of anything in a huge run for his offense. Jair Alexander is just a fun name to bring up just because he was signed like yesterday. If he can stay healthy, how is this not the best defense in the league by a mile at this point? Like I know the Baltimore Ravens defense secondary especially was the defense was good up front. The secondary was atrocious. Jair Alexander coming in and now like if he can stay healthy, this helps them. They got him for like $2.5 million. It's insane how cheap they got him.
Yeah.
And Green Bay couldn't figure out how to sign him. Y'all are morons. I'm sorry. How do you not figure this out? Come on, Corey.
The hatred in Wisconsin is palpable for Jair Alexander, dude. Like it is not good. So
you couldn't afford $2.5 million?
Oh, they could have afforded it. I just do not think that
and then some.
Is not a fan. The fans have turned on Jair Alexander out here. But he also signed for less to play with him and Lamar.
Oh, I know. He signed for the cheap to go for the ring. I get it.
Go get that. But
man,
that's
he's probably not gonna get it because Lamar doesn't know how to win the playoffs. Ooh, wait, did I say that out loud? He might have been said on our Discord earlier by somebody else, not me.
I don't disagree with that. Especially seeing him falter live in person on the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. So, I don't really have anything else to add here, other than who would get winded first in that 4-minute action, me or Alexander. Probably still be me, but it'd be close.
Absolutely, you.
All right. Next up, I already mentioned him.
40 anymore.
I'm not at the expo anymore, so
excuses.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to race against you when I'm not.
You wouldn't race me the last time you were there.
I was up for it the last time. You had some groin issue or some bullshit.
I had a pulled hamstring. How am I gonna race you with a pulled hamstring?
Don't come at me then. It's not my fault you pulled your hamstring.
You just went. You literally looked at the second year we went. I looked at you and went, "Are we racing?" You're like, "No, I'm tired." I had a pulled hamstring.
Because I drank all the alcohol Friday, so and didn't leave the hotel room until the party Saturday night.
I think I asked you on Sunday, but that's okay. All right, move on.
Either way, Titans have brought in Tyler Lockett, who I talked about earlier. I mean, cool. What do we think about Lockett, Corey?
So I think we're getting to quarterback, right? We're going to see Cam Moore, the first overall pick in the draft. So we don't know if he's going to have a favorite receiver or whatever. Calvin Ridley should lead the team in targets, but beyond that, I don't know. Tyler Lockett could still be second on this team in targets. I think that's possible. Van Jefferson is not a lot, and then the rookies: Chimere Dike, Alec Minor, and then Treylon Burks is still there from his 7 years of being the first round pick or whatever he was. He was terrible in his whole career here. So Tyler Lockett's reliable. I wish he would switch to more of an underneath option. He's still kind of this like shorter over the top option, which worked when you're fast, but as he gets older, he loses some speed. So maybe got to switch up his approach a little bit here. But last couple rounds, if you want to take a dart throw on somebody, I think Tyler Lockett's viable in that area. Oh, sorry. I should have got. Now I'm going to think about it. Now I'm going to be saying, like, if you want to take a shot. So I just got to make sure I don't say it.
I mean, what are we drinking?
We had to rewatch this episode. This is funny. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Corey. And then you got to also add in, like, the tight ends, Chika Okonkwo, brought in Gunnar Helm, who I think is good, not super fast, but can do some things on the field and just take away just that many more targets away from a guy like Lockett. I do like how do you pronounce the name? I like Aomenor.
I like Aomenor.
I like him a lot. He's one of the very few college players that I actually do know that isn't like the big name guys, but like he's a guy that like when he fell in the draft, like I was like, whoa, why? That's kind of weird. Like he was always producing. And then the guy Restrepo, who Miami guy. So like bringing in Cam Ward's buddy, like, come on, man. Like they're bringing in dudes who I think can just help out Cam Ward. And Tyler Lockett feels like a guy they're bringing in kind of be like a leadership presence at this point. He'll produce on the field. He'll have some games, but nobody that you can like really rely on. Jump over here to the Vikings real quick. No major moves here, except they traded for Jordan Mason as they see, their backup running backs all leave. They didn't really have a whole lot to go there anyway. But behind Aaron Jones now is Jordan Mason, who we know has been super good when he's on the field, right? So he's super talented. Real quick, Jordan Mason.
Not much. I mean, he can be explosive, but I'm not overly concerned with him taking a lot away from Jones. He's still the clear-cut number one here, so maybe a handcuff with a little more upside than some of the other handcuffs.
How far down do you think this knocks Aaron Jones, Corey?
Not much. Jordan Mason's just really more of a handcuff to me. I think Aaron Jones is probably like RB like 24 to 30, somewhere in that range.
Boom, 24. Yeah,
that's about right. He's going to get touched. So with JJ McCarthy taking over, my question is on Aaron Jones specifically is JJ McCarthy's taken over as quarterback on this team, barring another injury, right? And McCarthy can run a little bit. So Sam Darnold didn't run. Kirk Cousins before him did not run. So I don't know how many check down passes Aaron Jones gets. That's my question is, will the catches go down if McCarthy decides to take off and run instead of checking it down? That is a little bit of a question because I think he was like 6th or 7th in touches last season. He was really high. I wrote the Vikings draft guide for us. And I remember thinking like, wow, these are like all the top players in football that had more touches than him. But I do think that'll come down, but I'm not worried that Jordan Mason is taking work away. And I like Jordan Mason a lot. I do think I wish he would have went, like I was praying he was going to go to Dallas, get drafted or traded to Dallas. I think then I would be so much more interested in Jordan Mason, but with Aaron Jones ahead of him, I still think he's just a backup option there. And the last team, it is one of our teams here. This is the only one we talked about tonight. AJ's Eagles are not on here as they were coming off a Super Bowl win. My Packers not on here. But Joe, we'll talk about the Commanders. The trade for Laramie Tunsil before the draft, that is to help solidify Jaden Daniels from not getting hurt all the time or getting under pressure all the time. And then they needed another wide receiver. Terry McLaurin's awesome. They were rolling out Noah Brown, who I actually kind of like, but gets hurt all the time. And so instead, they went and they got the Deebo Samuel from the Niners in a trade. Do we think there's anything left? I know I'm supposed to, I believe, Joe, you are up, actually. I was going to say I'm supposed to go to AJ first, but no, it is Joe's turn here. So, Joe, what is your feeling on your team getting Deebo Samuel?
I think why not?
Why not?
For what they had to give up to get him, why not? It wasn't much. It was like, what, a 7th round pick? 6th round pick or something like that? It wasn't much. So who cares? It's a 1-year deal, probably. I know it's kind of, everybody's like, oh, that contract. I'm like, it's a 1-year contract. Who cares? You just paid this year, you eat it, you be gone. They gave up nothing in the draft to get him. Deebo Samuel is not going to produce like he did in San Fran. That offense is completely different. They, fed the ball to Deebo in different ways in San Fran to get him the ball and make him a fantasy like juggernaut at times, right? He's not going to be that guy. Can Deebo be a better receiver than he was in San Fran? Sure. But it's going to be hard to rely on Deebo. Deebo's not on my draft board. I think we didn't talk about a lot of like non-offensive players, right? We talked about Jair just because he just signed it. It's kind of fun to talk about. I think this Tunsil signing is like probably one of the ones that people are going to pay attention to, and that's the stuff that like if you play fantasy football, you need to look at these defensive line, offensive line signings because the trenches matter. A huge problem for the Commanders for years now was offensive line. So getting a guy like Tunsil, who is one of the best offensive linemen in the league, is amazing. And they didn't have to give up a lot for him either, honestly. And so getting him is going to help out Jaden Daniels, going to help out whatever running game they have, whoever it's going to be. We saw the run game specifically with Brian Robinson just struggle down the stretch. Now, he was a little banged up, but it struggled big time. So getting him going again, they brought in a guy who was he suspended? Corey, you would know this better because you know college football better than me. The Conkley guy, the rookie, what's his name? They drafted him in the 7th round. It was I believe a USC or Oklahoma kid.
Corey Krosky-Merritt.
Oh
yeah, where?
Okay, so Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
He's good, but he's like trouble.
He's good,
but he's very good.
So
Arizona.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt started his career at like a Division II school. I believe it was like Southern Alabama, and went to redshirt a year. Right, so he redshirted. And then his team gave his number away, and the NCAA didn't realize that it wasn't him. So when they started giving this guy the carries with his old number, they thought it was him. So the NCAA did an investigation, and they determined that no, he didn't get the red shirt. So when he got to Arizona last year, he was told he was ineligible to play because he'd already exhausted eligibility. But like he is good, he's big, he's physical, he'll run hard with the ball. Like that is like Brian Robinson. That's kind of a similar player to what Brian Robinson offers. So. I don't know, like 7th-round picks. That's tough to ever project a lot out of.
Yeah, I get it, but I think he's a talented guy who I think that's only good. Getting a guy like Tunsil is only going to help somebody like Brian Robinson and Krosky-Merritt to help thrive. Eckler's going to be Eckler. Eckler's going to do his thing. He's not a up the middle guy anymore at all. We talked about this. We talked about this last offseason. He's going to be catch the underneath ball, get the little outside runs. He'll run up the middle here and there, but like Eckler's not a guy you want to really rely on anymore. But so long story short, Deebo, nah. I like Tunsil because I think it's going to boost his running game big time and help JD stay healthy.
Yeah. So would you consider JCM a dart throw as a 7th-round pick? Who mimics his teammate Brian Robinson Jr. And also, I feel like I heard something from you about the Eagles not being on this list. I mean, is that because they never lose? I don't know. You can't mute my video, bitch.
Wow, that one was forced. But I have a question for Joe. Joe, does are we at like
pardon the interruption or
Deebo Samuel? Any decrease on Terry McLaurin?
No, because they got rid of everybody else they had that was decent.
Where do you have Terry McLaurin?
Ooh, I literally just closed my rankings, so I don't know right now.
Because I just think, like, I believe he finished as a top 10 wide receiver last year.
Did he?
I think so, because of the touchdowns.
I was going to say touchdowns were big for him. I remember that.
So if he's in, like, if he's in somewhat, like, I don't know, we'll do a bust show eventually, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if he's coming out as a top 10 receiver, he will be a bust for me, because I love Terry McLaurin. I was all over him last year, but I don't think that he can repeat the year he just had.
All right, so let me ask you, where do you think I should have him?
Like 15 to 20.
16 for receivers.
Yeah.
That's I've got him down at 16. Debo, by the way, is
he finished 7th last year in PPR. I just pulled it up.
Debo's down at wide receiver 41 for me.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's down there with like the Jacoby Myers and the Jaden Reeds. Well, Jaden Reed, you could argue should be higher, but like, man, we saw the mess he was last year. Diggs and Pearsall and these guys that, like, they're just massive question marks. Debo's one of the same guys, man. It's so funny. Ayuk, Debo, Pearsall all going within like 4 picks of each other. That is wild. I'm sure we will get to that later too. So all right.
A lot of football content left to talk about this year, man.
Absolutely. We got extra time thanks to Corey's idea to bring this show back. We're not done in a while.
Are we worried about, former Hokie Jalen Lane taking some snaps from Devo?
No.
He should
but
be.
I do like Jalen Lane a lot. I did pick him up in my Dynasty League. But just because I dropped like Elijah Moore.
Isn't Jalen Lane like 180 pounds?
And also like 4.31. So yeah, sure.
Okay.
Jalen Lane just needs to stay healthy, which he couldn't do in college. Probably means he's not going to do it in but hey, why not? I love my Hokies. Let's go, baby.
Guys. Those are the ones that, those 150 pound guys. They work so well.
Let's go, baby. Let's go, baby.
Real score. Come on.
Just learn how to fall. Just learn how to fall, right? Well, hey, honestly, so I forget who said it. Somebody was like, I want to learn how to play like Tyler Lockett.
Yeah,
think about it. Good. Think about it. Like learn to fall. Learn to not take a hit. That's the way to go. If you're a little guy, man, learn to take a hit. Learn to fall. Right? Not get killed. All right. So that's it for tonight's show. Thank you all for tuning in and listening wherever you're watching or listening in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, follow, tune in or jump over to fantasy6pack.net, become an all access member. You're going to get access to my award-winning rankings, including the rest of the staff. The cheat sheet was already launched, and all the projections and things like that are live as well. S6P Pod gets you 15% off of all of our plans. And we've got a lot more coming. I believe, let me just give a little sneak peek of what we got going on here. Fantasy football shows here. So we're going to do a little, just some tips for running leagues and just some beginner talk here, things that even advanced players need to get reminded of for running and playing in fantasy leagues. Got sleepers and busts. We got some safe and riskiest players, some ADP values. We're going to run through a fun little Reddit AMA thing. My boy Jeremy over there, who runs the Reddit AMA, let me do some things. And actually, these two are going to be doing it solo, by the way. I'm going to be doing the AMA. They're going to be discussing all the questions afterwards. Then we're going to do some draft strategy, mock drafts, preseason risers and fallers, rankings talk, and then boom, it's the start of the season. So let's get into this, and I hope everybody's excited as we are. Any last words, everybody?
I mean, if we're gonna have two of us, how are we doing it solo exactly? Is there some force of Hans that we're talking about here?
These two are gonna be doing it
solo, is what you said.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah, I know. I know what I said. Now, shut up, AJ. All right. Corey, got any final words?
I'm speechless for a change over here.
All right. Goodbye. We are.